Mira Business FM.
Welcome back. 11 minutes past 1 on Mira Business FM. This is Daybreak. Inzamam Rashid with you for the next 49 minutes to be precise. Well, look, Dubai has been long been a crossroads of global commerce where East meets West and ideas converge as much as goods and capital. And over the past year, one of South Africa's most prominent financial institutions, Investec, has joined that story, opening its doors in the heart of Dubai International Financial Centre, DIFC. And the backdrop is significant. The UAE is now South Africa's largest trading partner in the Middle East, with non-oil trade between the two nations hitting nearly $8.5 billion in 2024. That was up 14% on the previous year. In the first half of 2025 alone, that figure has already touched $4 billion. And that's driven by sectors ranging from gold, precious metals, to food security, logistics, and renewable energy as well. Add to that, there's a South African community of more than just shy of 4,000 registered businesses in the UAE, and you have a relationship that is both dynamic and, from what I've kind of found out, deeply human as well. Today we're going to reflect on Investec's first year in Dubai, what that means not only for the bank but for the growing economic and cultural ties between the UAE and South Africa. And in order to unpack all of that and to discuss it, I'm joined by Renee Vessels. She's the senior executive at Investec and a leading voice as well, I think it's fair to say, at the South African Business Council here in the UAE. What's your role at the council?
I'm on the board.
You're on the board
Yes.
there. Renee, thank you so much for joining us here on Mira Business FM.
It's only a pleasure. It's very nice to be here.
Yeah.
Any opportunity that we get to speak about South Africa and what we're doing in the UAE is a good opportunity for us.
Any opportunity for us to sit here and listen to that beautiful South African accent it's all reciprocated. So thank you.
Exactly.
No, thank you for coming in. It's a pleasure to speak to you. Let's firstly talk about Investec. It's been a year since you moved out here with Investec. As you mentioned, you've followed your clients.
Yes.
Tell us how successful it's been over the last year.
Thank you so much. Yeah, listen, we got our license last year, September. Darren Solomon and myself moved to the region to open the office. And like I said, when we expand as a business, we tend to follow our clients wherever they may go. And to your point, that's what led us to the UAE. So not only do we have a lot of South African individuals moving to the region, a lot of them are also expanding their businesses. So they may keep the headquarters in South Africa, but the businesses are expanding into the region for obvious reasons, given all the growth and all the opportunity. We're a duly listed bank on the London Stock Exchange and the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So we also have quite a big UAE, UK market. That's also a lot of people following us from the UK to the Middle East. So we've had a great year. We've been welcomed with open arms. We have loads of clients here, and we've been really lucky. We've been really successful so far.
Yeah, of course. You mentioned there the London Stock Exchange. You have a huge kind of footprint in the UK,
Yes.
and I know that firmly because I remember Investec Test match crickets. Where, cricket was sponsored by Investec, and so when the cricket is being sponsored by a company of that size, and you know the footprint that they have. But why? What conversations have you had with your clients as to why they are moving to the UAE and the wider Middle East? In turn, that's why you guys have come here. But what are the reasons for them coming here?
I think from a growth perspective, so obviously given the number of people moving to the region, we've got a lot of people either expanding their businesses to grow. We've got quite a wide industry of people bringing their businesses here from an import perspective. We've got loads of people in the Middle East wanting to invest back into South Africa. The real estate is very popular, I'm sure you will know. Cape Town's being bought up by a lot of people living in the region. But as a business, we always say where once assets are situated and beneficiaries are located will have a massive impact on the transfer of wealth. So not only are our clients moving here, but the kids are moving here, wanting to set up a business or go to school or or see what the opportunities may be like, in the region. So it's from an opportunity perspective, the safety component, obviously it's very tax efficient, the jurisdiction, but I think more than that, the government is very helpful, very open to business. With my SAPCO hat on, the SAPCO, our CEO, Larisha van der Linde, is very active in the business. We work closely with David L's, the UAE chambers back in Cape Town. So there's a lot of back and forth to see how we can, further the relationships, open doors for South African business wanting to come here, or even for people in the UAE wanting to invest back into South Africa. So I think the ease of doing business and the opportunity, the environment, the safety, all of those components all add to, people wanting to come here. And there's about 150,000 South Africans living in the Middle East. A large number of that are people living in Dubai itself. And that number is growing by the day. Like, we get a lot of our businesses phoning us, asking how do we come into the ecosystem, how do we settle ourselves. And I think there's a lot of things that the UAE can offer.
That's interesting. And we'll come on to kind of more of the UAE South African relations, which have just been increasingly exponentially over the last few years. When we talk about your kind of clients, are you mainly looking after South African clients? Is it mainly South Africans who are coming to you guys, given that you are a South African organization, or are you picking up clients from around the world? Around
the world. So we understand global citizens really well. We over 4 continents. We've got offices in 44 cities. So I would say South Africans, UK expats, European individuals. So we're not limited to specific demographic. I think when you expand to foreign jurisdiction, you always think you're going to have to explain to people who you are, but everyone knows the zebra, and it's pretty much very iconic to our South African origins. So I think we understand global citizens, because in the UAE, everyone living are global citizens of the world. They were born in one country, they become residents of the UAE with assets and interest globally. So I would say we probably, South Africans and UK nationals being our biggest market, given that we are the largest manager of wealth in the UK and South Africa. So we've got a name for ourselves, but we focus on servicing our clients really well from the region, and obviously capitalizing on our businesses globally, like our Swiss business, to custody all the assets.
And how are you finding the response here in the UAE, particularly over the last year? What have been the kind of standout milestones or client moments in this first year that you've had operating from here?
I think when you come to a region, you expect a slow start, given that you're new. We've got all our competitors are here, all the Swiss banks are here, all the big financial institutions are in the region, and if they're not here yet, they are coming very soon. So I think the only thing that distinguishes us is how we service our clients. So you kind of have to wrap your arms around your clients, and I think we've been very, like I said, we've been very welcomed by the DIFC, by the government, by our networks. All the law firms are here, all the accounting firms, and that's what I love most about Dubai. It's all about relationships. It's all about spending time with people, getting in front of people, opening doors for one another. And I think we're all in the same position. We're someone from afar trying to do business in the region. So I think we've been pleasantly surprised by how easy it is to do business and how open people are to opening doors for you and bringing in a brand. We obviously have a trusted brand. We're lucky that we've been in the business for the last 50 odd years. So I think we've expanded to many other jurisdictions in the past, and it always takes you a few years just to get going. But I think we've been pleasantly surprised by the amount of expats that knows us in the region.
What have you found in comparison to the way that you do operate in the likes of South Africa, over in the UK as well, to operating here in the UAE when it comes to kind of relationships and, the kind of face-to-faceness of the whole job? What have you kind of noticed in a kind of difference?
How personal the environment is in the UAE. In South Africa or London, we also like clients to come to our offices, meet them over lunch or meet them at their offices. People are very interpersonal in the UAE. I think in London, it's also people need to get somewhere. It takes quite a while, and even though the traffic is picking up in Dubai, I think the personal interactions, people wanting to get in front of you, the trust element is big. Obviously, there's a lot of businesses here. So I think it's just the fact that it's easy to get in front of someone and have that personal relationship. That's the one thing that's been really surprising and beneficial to us, the fact that we can sit in front of people and meet people face to face.
Renee, just for the people listening and watching, just tell us a bit about Investec, specifically what it is that you guys do, and obviously a globally known brand, but in a nutshell, what is the work that Investec does?
Yes, so we're international bank and wealth manager. We have banking operations out of multiple jurisdictions like Channel Islands, London, South Africa, Mauritius, and then we're also a leading wealth manager out of our South African business and our Swiss business in Zurich. So we, from a DIFC perspective, we're there to service our clients, and then if someone wants to invest money, we will then refer them to our business based in Zurich for them to get their money invested, in a suitable manner from that office. So we are a traditional bank and wealth manager. That's what we do.
Investec obviously has a strong culture globally.
Yes.
I think it's probably fair to say. How do you balance that with Dubai's business landscape, which is very fast-paced and constantly kind of moving, and perhaps even bringing a bit of that South African flair into it all? How do you do that?
Well, it's always so funny. No one ever asks me where I'm from. I think the accent gives it away. They're always like, "You're from South Africa." I'm like, "How did you know?" We're a very niche, specialized bank. So we're not the largest bank in the world. And I think that has largely helped us to keep up with the fast-paced environment. We're not for everyone. Like, we like to stick to the things that we do really well, and the things that we don't do that well, we don't get involved. So I think the fact that we're small and we're nimble and we're out of the ordinary, services our game, I think that's been the one thing that has helped us in this fast-paced environment, because there aren't any business hours in the UAE. It's from early to late, which is good and bad at the same time, but we love it. The energy is electric. It's it's amazing to be here.
I bet you've been run off your feet for the last year then, haven't you?
Yes, it's been...
Working weekends, late nights.
Yeah, but it's fun. I think if you love your job and you enjoy the thrill, I mean, it's a bit of a, the counter argument is it would have been the worst thing ever getting into a jurisdiction where it's slow, you can't get in front of people aren't that keen to do business. I like the fact that people want to do business, and that's, the UAE is really good. It's a business. People want to do business and get on and move forward, and we love it. It fits our culture really well.
When we talk about kind of, a lot of red tape, do you find that the UAE perhaps has less red tape than the likes of the UK, South Africa, and how are you finding actually operating as a bank out here?
Listen, I think they are, from a service perspective, they're absolutely wonderful. They make it very easy for you to operate. We're not a fully fledged bank like we are in the UK and South Africa. I think there's like 52 banks in the UAE. So from that perspective, we can't see ourselves competing anytime soon. But I think they make it super easy. Even though the UAE is also regulated, they've been removed from the grey list, which is great. They are making massive strides. They can compete with all the global countries like Singapore and Switzerland and everywhere else in the world.
How does something like that have an impact on an organisation like you're removing the UAE from the grey list?
It's massive. I think from a perception perspective, perception equals reality.
For sure.
So the fact that they're making all the right moves are great for investors. There's also a lot of South Africans wanting to invest in this region, whether it's property or companies, whatever it may be. The fact that they are moving in that direction, I think it's a massive win for the region.
Renee Wessels, the Senior Executive at Investec, speaking to us this afternoon here on Daybreak on Mira Business FM. Renee, please stick there. I really want to talk to you with your South African Business Council hat on, where we can talk all things business and South Africa and the UAE, and how the business between the two nations is growing exponentially over the last few years, and a bit about how there are more and more South Africans coming to the UAE and why that is. We're going to go to a very quick break, then we're going to come back with the news headlines, and Renee will continue chatting to you here on Mira Business FM. Stick with us, news coming up very shortly. Welcome back. This is Daybreak with me, Inzamam Rashid. In the studio with us, Renee Vessels, the Senior Executive at Investec here in Dubai and a board member of the South African Business Council here in the UAE. Renee, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. It's been a pleasure to have you. Let's talk about UAE and South Africa relations, because I mentioned it earlier in the show. I'll just recap some of those numbers. Non-oil trade between the two nations hitting nearly $8.5 billion US in 2024. That was up 14% on the previous year. And in the first half of 2025 alone, that figure's already touched $4 billion US, which I think is pretty insane, right?
Pretty insane.
Yeah. And it's growing exponentially as well, as we can see. What's going on? Why is all this happening?
Yeah, listen, I think from a SABCO perspective, I'm on the board of SABCO. We've got a great team and a great CEO, like I said, Larisha van der Linde. And it's a very soft landing for people wanting to come into the region. And like I said, the UAE chambers is also in South Africa. I believe they were based in Johannesburg. They're now based out of Cape Town. But there's obviously a lot of initiatives between the two, wanting to stimulate trade and investment, wanting to open the channels for people to invest either in South Africa or for South Africans to invest here. I think there's a lot of common goals. I think it's two beautiful countries with a lot to offer and a lot of stimulation, and the interest is massive. I think from a timing perspective, I think there's been a lot of work being done in the background, and then all of a sudden you see these numbers and you're like, wow. That's quite significant.
What is it from a South Africa perspective that South Africa can offer the UAE, and what is it that South Africa looks at the UAE and says, okay, we want a slice of that here in South Africa? What are the kind of the big things that you notice?
Yeah, listen, I think it's across different industries. I think tourism is big, sustainability, green tech is big. I think fintech companies is a big interest, and I think that's also part of the reason why the UAE Chambers is now in Cape Town. Loads of fintech companies coming about. So I think from a retail perspective, we've got the beautiful story of Natasha that owns Tasha's. I mean, it's a beautiful story. So I think it's across different industries. I think it's not limited to one. I think it's just a beautiful blend between things that we can offer and things that the UAE can offer South Africa. I think property both ways is a big investment and a lot of interest on both sides. So I think it's a combination of a few things. Food security for the UAE is a big thing.
Yep.
They've been very vocal about that. If you've ever been to South Africa, you know we love food. We like eating it, and we've had a lot of other successful retail companies coming into the region as well. So yeah, I think there's so much opportunity. I think the fact that the UAE or Dubai, at the very least, I think it's now 4 million people ticked over last week or the week before.
You're right.
I think they're like 2 years, before schedule. So you can see from opportunity perspective, it's there's loads of opportunities. We understand emerging markets, South Africa, being an emerging market ourselves. Yeah. So it's almost like we've got a lot in common, and I think there's a lot of things that we can offer each other. And I think it's just keeping consistent conversations, opening the doors for one another, and that's where SABCO is beautiful. It's really soft landing for people wanting to come in. It's sometimes difficult to know where to start or who to speak to and what jurisdiction you should be in. A lot of people like UAE, like it's one place. There's a lot of free zones and all sorts of things that people should consider. And I think if you've got this conduit of people that can facilitate the conversation, then it makes a big difference.
We'll come on to what SABCO's role is, just picking up on South African food in particular. I'm trying to think of some foods that I had. Boerewors, is that right?
Boerewors,
yeah?
Yes.
That's like the sausage.
Yes, it's
yeah?
the best. Braai, you only...
Braai, of course,
braai,
yeah.
Boerewors.
Mielie. Had that, yeah, with the Boerewors, I think, and the chakalaka.
Chakalaka, yeah. Did you have melktart? Cook Sisters
I had, very sweet, but very nice.
Yes, not good for the house.
Not good for the health.
But from a food perspective, it's beautiful. I think we've got loads to offer.
Are there many South African food joints in the UAE? Have you found any?
I think there's more and more coming. I think Steers is still here.
Okay.
Steers Burgers.
Yeah.
I think they're still here. I think there's a few more on their way of coming into the region that's looking at it. But I think obviously Tasha's has been very dominant because of her success. But I think there are a lot of retail companies also looking to see what the options are in the UAE.
So when you look at the success of someone like Natasha and with her concept of Tasha's, who originally opened a store in South Africa, and she brought it here to Dubai, where it's just gone through the roof. She's got many stores, and she's got a number of stores opening up in partnerships with huge retail developers now as well. From your SABCO position on the board, when you look at someone like that and the success she's achieved, putting South Africa on the map here from a Dubai perspective, how does that kind of make you feel?
No, super proud. It's like winning the Rugby World Cup from an analogy perspective. Listen, consistency is key. Anywhere where you go in life, if there's service and there's consistency and you do a good job, you'll do really well. But from a quality perspective, there's a lot that South African companies can offer and vice versa. So I think, again, SABCO is perfectly positioned to help South African companies or individuals wanting to come into the region, having a bit of a soft landing. And the government is also very open to facilitating conversations to see what. I think the one thing is you would think there's not space for another coffee shop and then another coffee shop is coming. So I think it's also important for companies to understand the industries where there's a need, like manufacturing in the UAE, food security, sustainability and green tech. So I think it's also understanding where there are areas of opportunities and growth. Because I think some of the markets may be saturated to some extent. But again, the population is growing by the day. So
with the South Africa Business Council, not only are you having conversations directly with the UAE government, I think just last week, the Minister for Foreign Trade, His Excellency Al Zayudi, met with you guys.
Yes.
You had positive discussions, but you also do the kind of work with residents and people who are looking to move here and perhaps even looking to operate out here. Let's just go back to that first point. What was that meeting like? What conversations are had with high-level members of the UAE government like that?
Yeah, listen, it's all about speaking about opportunities, seeing where the private sector can collaborate, what we can do to make life easier, what's working, what's not working. So I think it's always, it goes both ways to see where we can do things differently or where we need to grow or what we need to do to achieve the goals that we both want to achieve. So I think the fact that we've got access and that we've got what do they say, a chair at the table or a seat at the table does make a big difference because it's all about just keeping the conversation open.
Are you noticing those conversations increasingly over the last few years? What's driving that?
I think it's the opportunity. I think the opportunity more than anything. I think there's a lot of wins that the UAE has had in the last couple of years, like we spoke about the grey listing and all of those beautiful things. But I think it's opportunity. People tend to follow the opportunity, and I think there's massive opportunity from a growth perspective. So I think it's also been very organic. It's all these conversations that's been had over the years. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great things. And I think it's just all of those things now coming into fruition.
And then, as we mentioned, you also help businesses and people in general, even maybe with the seed of an idea, navigate the UAE market and build those private sector bridges. How much of an important role is that in terms of the organisation?
No, I think that's probably the main aim for SABCO. It's to support South African businesses and individuals wanting to come in. And it's all about relationships, knowing where to introduce people, where should you start, where should you incorporate a company. So I think there's a lot of experts. We've got a lot of members at SABCO. Can't remember where we are from a member's perspective, but obviously a lot of people with a lot of expertise wanting to meet people, network and see how they can help them, make their business successful in the region.
How do you, just coming back to the kind of Investec idea, but with this UAE and South Africa partnership kind of topic, how do you kind of see Investec positioning itself within the UAE's kind of wider South Africa vision, particularly as kind of the UAE expands, I guess, its footprint across infrastructure, tourism, sustainability projects on the continent. How do you kind of see that partnership developing?
Listen, I think we're obviously very well positioned as a international business. That's also why we settled ourselves here, is also to show our clients that we are committed to the region. We are committed to be here. We're not just flying in and out. We've got an office here. We've got a presence. We've got substance. So I think, and again, from a private sector perspective, we are there to help people facilitate conversations and open doors and service our clients. You know, that's part of our day job. We're not just a bank and a wealth manager, but it's also about opening doors for clients from opportunity perspective. And again, I think the fact that the chambers, the UAE chambers in South Africa, and the business chambers in South Africa. Well, the UAE chambers is in South Africa, and then we've got the South African chambers in the UAE. I think they do work very closely together to see if they can bring delegates over or introduce international businesses in South Africa wanting to come here. So I think it's about participating, and that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm a board member of SAPCO, because it's also about showcasing to South Africans what we can do in the region.
What's possible out
What's
here,
possible. And again, it's not about moving here or saying goodbye to your country. It's just about opportunities and expanding and going, kind of following the opportunities and, you know, your beneficiaries and your assets, or, you know, wherever it may go.
And are you finding that people are giving back to South Africa as well? Because you hear a lot of stories of kind of people leaving their home countries, you know, setting up businesses outside of the home country and then not kind of investing back into that home country.
Yes.
Are you finding a trend where people are actually also giving back to SA?
No, listen, definitely. If you're born in South Africa and you're from South Africa, you don't walk away. So I think wherever there's still great investment opportunities back in South Africa. So I think you can do a bit of both. I think you can live in one country and have an investment in another. And like I say, we deal with global citizens of the world. A lot of our clients living all over the world wanting to invest or come to the region, and we just we make it slightly easier for them just to navigate the system because of the relationships that we do have. So I think it's neither South Africa. It's not neither or. It's like it can be both. They're not mutually exclusive. But again, from a safety perspective and from a living perspective, Dubai's got so much to offer. The schooling is phenomenal. The weather's not always that great, but it's only a few months of the year, and then you can go back. You can go to Europe, go to South Africa, or go wherever. But I think it's there are good opportunities either way, and I think that's why we can see the trade between the two picking up. Because it goes both ways.
Of course. Finally, just from me, 2025 so far, the kind of bilateral trade between the two nations up at $4 billion. What's your kind of thoughts of how the rest of the year will look and the years ahead? Listen,
I think it's going one way, and that's up. I think if we keep the consistency, we keep the conversations open, we keep on supporting both, you know, the UAE and South Africa, I think it will keep on growing. Like I say, consistency is key, and I think it's going one way, and that's upwards, and inshallah, like they say. So I think, listen, there's great opportunities. I think it's just about keeping the conversations flowing and just making sure that we're doing the most that we can to represent South Africa, and also for the UAE to have a representation in South Africa.
Well, I think you've represented South Africa beautifully for us today, Renee Wessels. She is, of course, here as the South African Business Council board member, but also a senior executive at Investec. Renee, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again very, very soon.
Baie dankie. It was baie lekker om hier te wees.
Thank you. I wish I could speak the language. It's such a great language, and your accent is brilliant. And hopefully, next time we have you in here, there'll be a South African place where we can go get some cook sisters and all that kind of stuff.
That sounds beautiful. We do have the lekker shop, so it's an option. Next time I come in, I will bring a few cook sisters.
There we go. Doesn't that look, Faraj is happy about that. Look at that. Again, Renee, thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's 1:47. This is Mira Business FM. Faraj and I are going to have a chat about the blood moon very shortly. You see that last night? Yeah, you did. Yeah, it was great.
It was incredible.
It was, yeah. We'll talk about that here on Mira Business FM very shortly, and then we'll get you the headlines just after 2 o'clock. Stick with us. We'll be back after this.
Mira Business FM.